Man, one tie-in with Mets St. John's is my good buddy John Franco. I know he's done some uh, PSAs for Rick in the program, and I guess he knows sometime soon the St. John's is going to give Johnny an honorary degree, which I know he's thrilled about. But what does it mean to have an alumni who is still relevant in the area be a vocal supporter of the program like Johnny is?
I mean, John he's phenomenal. As a huge Mets fan, to be able to have John's cell phone number and him text me after a big win is something that excites me maybe more than anything. He's an incredible ambassador to St. John's, clearly a great ambassador for the Mets organization, a great ambassador of what it means to work really hard and continue to put one foot in front of the other and let your work speak for itself. So it's an honor to know him. Certainly to be able to be a part of having make sure that St. John's, John Franco is a relationship that's one that is strong, is awesome. Have him come to games is great. There's no celebrity that we can have that comes to any games that to me are bigger than John Franco.
Jay Horwitz, a special edition of Amazing Conversations with Matt Abdelmassih. Did I pronounce it? Did I screw up the name, Matt?
You say it better than my wife does,
Oh,
Jay.
all right. Listen, why is Matt on my podcast? Two main reasons. He's a GM of my favorite college team, the St. John's Red Storm. He's a gigantic Mets fan. I didn't realize till yesterday, Matt. You named one of your kids Shea?
I sure did. Our firstborn was Shea, a boy that was born 7 years ago yesterday. I always told my wife it's a non negotiable whenever we have our first kid, they're going to be named Shea. So it's spelled Shea. Um, a week after he was born, we actually brought him outside to City Field and took pictures right out there at the Apple and actually brought him to the home plate where Shea Stadium was and took pictures as a newborn. So yeah, Jay,
You didn't
Shea
name the
is
other kids Polo guys, Matt,
it,
or Wheatfield?
no, nobody else is named after anything Mets related. Just the first one, Shea.
Matt, how did you become a Mets fan?
Just family. My uncle was a really big Mets fan. I loved baseball growing up. Went to a lot of games as a young kid at Shea, and it's been so ingrained in my life. But the Mets are a lot more than just a team for me. For me, it's a 365-day crazy fan following it. I go to a lot of games, probably more than I should. But it's a game that I've always appreciated and loved. But most importantly, just as a team, I've always just absolutely loved and adored the Mets.
Matt, favorite Mets player?
Mike Piazza, the 9/11 game,
You were there?
that just is a vivid memory. Yeah, I was
Right.
there. I was there.
I there was the security was so tough that day, and none of us knew what to expect. And when Mike came up in the eighth inning, you knew. I'm not saying I knew he was going to hit a home run, but just knew he was going to do something special. What a
Yeah,
great
no,
night that
yeah,
was.
it was phenomenal. I mean, I've been fortunate enough as a kid to now outside of living in different places with jobs. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be at a lot of big Mets moments. Of course, the emotional attachment to all of that. I would say the craziest game though that I've ever attended in terms of atmosphere, pressure, intensity, and everything was Game 7 against the Cardinals. Clearly we lost, but I remember sitting behind home plate in the mezzanine level, and literally when Endy Chavez made
I
that
would have bet
catch,
my life
I feel
savings,
like the
Matt. We would
mezzanine.
have won the game after that catch.
No question, but the mezzanine level was legitimately shaking.
Yadi and Melita
That was
still at home with
definitely.
Aaron Heilman.
Yeah,
That was crushing.
yeah.
You know, before we get to the Red Storm, you mentioned St. John's have been history going back. The late Luke Carnesecchi used to call me every year on Yom Kippur and the first day of the season. He's a gigantic Mets fan, and I go back with Chris Mullin to the '80s. I used to sneak him and his brother Terrence into the ballpark. Chris was a bona fide Mets fan, not a fly by nighter. He was a really good guy. I know you work with St. John's.
Yeah, so I mean, I was here 2015 to 2019 with Chris. But yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, he's a big Mets fan. There's no questions about that. Always brought up fond memories when he was in high school and also at St. John's with what you just said, Jay, of getting into Shea when he wanted to with his brothers and friends. But there's no doubt about it. We don't. I feel like we maybe don't have as much of a celebrity cachet as Mets fans as some other teams do, but Chris is definitely a consistent one.
Man, I know you and your family went to Williamsport to see the Little League World Series, Little League game. That had to be a big thrill. You know, that'd be a nice game.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, just a incredible. If you're a baseball fan, that's one event. I would say the Little League World Series and the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska are two events that are just so phenomenal for a baseball fan, specifically for the Little League World Series when you're dealing with kids. Just amazing to see the smiles on those kids with the interactions with the players.
Matt, again, the term general manager is a new term in sports. You know, I mean, when did this first come to being? You know, in the college atmosphere.
And all the rules started changing at a really rapid pace with NIL space, specifically I think NIL might be 5 years old now. Um, that is when you started seeing the addition of staff members within athletic departments that really had a focus on the NIL space. And then as the transfer portal coincided with the NIL space, and there was so much to manage outside the basketball court, the idea of a general manager really started to enter in the college basketball, college football space. So for me, when Coach Pitino got the job, um, it was something that I was really interested in because at the end of the day, it really allowed me to focus on my strengths, which has always been recruiting and putting teams together. And of course, now with the layer of managing the finances of dealing with a player pool of money that you're having to allocate and negotiate on an annual basis, dealing with contracts, all things that are a part of the job. But certainly over the last 5 years, it's evolved where almost every high major school does have one. Some still do not, but I would say within the next few years, everyone will have one. And for me, it's been absolutely awesome working under Rick Pitino in this role.
Matt, your Allegiance St. John's goes to your undergraduate days with a manager. I was a manager in NYU too. You know what I love about your resume, whether it was at Iowa State, Nebraska, or the Timberwolves. You were always the first hire of the people on the job. I know you had a good relationship with Fred Holberg at Iowa State, Nebraska. And what makes a good general manager, Matt?
I think someone that's just going to adapt to the times. Adaption is so huge. Also, just dealing with the constant changes. You're getting curveballs thrown at you every single day, and you're going to have to react very quickly, make quick decisions. Whether it's player related with the roster, whether it's dealing with the university on re- relationships in regard to the contracts and the finances. Um, so, for me, being someone that has so much experience in the transfer portal, back in 2010 when I started at Iowa State, we really built our whole program off transfers. And back then it wasn't called a portal. But that's really jump started my career. So for me, it's a very safe space dealing with transfers. And I'm really fortunate to be able to continue to do what I do at a place I love.
Matt, we say last year St. John's was 31 games, Big East champion. I mean, how tough is it for you? Like I think there's Zuby Edgeforth's back, Ruben Fryer's back. It's really a turnover every year. Do you? And you have four kids. Do you sleep at all?
Yeah, Jay, it's certainly very challenging. There's no doubt about it. The best thing that you could do is stay organized and do your work early. You're always gathering intel and information. That way, when it gets closer and closer to transfer season, you have a head start on that intel and doing everything within the rules to make sure you put yourself in a position that when a player hits the portal, you're ready to go. And we're very fortunate to have that infrastructure here and putting ourselves in a position to get some of the best transfers.
So I don't want to tell you any secrets or anything, but when Rick Pitino, before we stop, what is it like working for Rick? I mean, he's really, I'm a big college basketball fan. I've been not a Johnny come wait with St. John's, but Rick has brought something special to the university. Most of the guys come here, I want to come and learn from Rick. What's it like for you to work with Rick?
I mean, it's just you're getting a PhD in basketball. You're getting a PhD on life when you're surrounded around someone that has the immense experience that Coach Patino has, the immense success that he's had. At the end of the day, the thing I appreciate with him is the fact that he is such a normal guy and so approachable in every facet. Whether you want to talk about an NFL game, whether you want to talk about what's in the news, whether you want to just talk about life. Coach is someone that's approachable, that just has an immense shared experiences that he loves to share with you, maybe to better help you prepare for things that might come your way. So it's a true honor that you get to be around such a incredible elite human being and clearly elite level coach like Rick Pitino.
Matt, when they identify a guy, to do a transfer, are you brought into the process right away, or you're right from the get go?
Yeah, so how it works, Jay, is at some point in late January or early February, I'll meet with coach and we'll go over names that I feel like I've done my due diligence and background that have the chance to potentially transfer, even though that there's another 4 to 6 weeks left of the season. There's enough intel that you're getting. So I'll give him that substantial list and allow him to do his own process of watching some video on some of those players. Some of them he might know, we might cross off immediately based off what he knows as a basketball player. And that starts the process. And then we're continuing to talk throughout the whole month of February. So it leads us into March, and we're ready to go with the collection of players that we feel like he really likes that could fit. And also, I know that we have a realistic chance on getting.
I mean, what a great bit to be a St. John's. Nationally ranked. Just broke ground on a new basketball facility. Really the talk of the town, and I mean, it's got to be 12 games in the Garden is a big boost to your program. He sold out a game in Alabama in November, and it's got to be, for a guy who went to school there, was a manager, it's got to be really exciting for you to be part of something like this. I mean,
Yeah, it sure is, Jay. I mean, you know when you get to work for a place that means more than the job, it's always incredibly special. I mean, so many people that work here are lifelong friends that you absolutely love, and being able to share those experiences with them is just phenomenal. And it does. It means more to me than just a regular job, and ultimately to play a small part and putting ourselves in a position where we're nationally ranked and we have the real momentum that we do have is something I don't take for granted and something that's truly special.
Matt, during the year, do you try and keep up really the relationship with the guys, like with Dylan Darling, and Dylan Mitchell, the guys, Bryce Hopkins? You try and on a database to keep up the relationship with it, that you need something. How can I help? So it's an ongoing process, right?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of these guys, there's relationships that extend past just their experience at St. John's that I have with them. So there's a level of comfort with them, their families. So definitely, I mean, I have a pulse on those relationships. The relationships to me are vital and mean so much to me. And however I can help the staff with any situation that may come up, I'm here and available.
Matt, I remember the story. Not to bring up a bad thing. After you guys lost to Arkansas, you were right, got into recruiting right away last year in the NCAAs. So there was no time lost, right? It was boom, let's go, keep going, right?
Yeah, Jay. So we lost that game against Arkansas, and about 2 hours later, I'm in a car heading back to New York, and Coach Pitino and Coach Masiello called me, and it was right away. We're getting to work, hitting the ground running, because the transfer portal was going to be opening in like 48 hours, and we needed to be ready to go with visits, lining them up, getting them ready. So yeah, I mean that's the unfortunate side of things when you do lose that you can't sit there and really dwell on it. There's certainly a moment that you kind of self-reflect on what happened, but not at that time because if you do, you might lose out on a player. And we certainly hit the ground running and got after it really fast in the portal.
Matt, do you feel with the expectations is Rick is not a guy to shy away from anything, but it's a different thing this year. 31 wins last year. So I mean, is it a different kind of pressure for you guys to be under the national microscope?
Well, he's just so elite at managing those expectations internally with the team and really making sure it's portrayed to them that pressure is such a privilege and it's an honor and you have to embrace it. And every day that he coaches these guys up and gets them prepared, he reminds them of that. It certainly beats the alternative of being irrelevant, and we're not that. And you have to respect that. And in order to continue to elevate, not only individually but as a team and as a program, if you don't embrace that pressure, you're going to certainly fail. And that's something that Rick Pitino is elite at, is getting his guys prepared to handle that.
Matt, was it safe to say that the average fan might not? I mean, what you do is kind of under the radar a little bit. I mean, you're not on the back page of the papers, not doing talk shows. But I mean, really, the program couldn't survive with somebody like you to do the legwork and all the work. And I'm sure Rick is appreciated, but it's kind of a little bit under the radar from the average fan, maybe.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, this whole position is still a little bit unique because not everybody has it. And the thing is there's other general managers that might not do what I do, and I might not do what they do. So, whereas a general manager in Major League Baseball or the NBA or NFL, you certainly know what their responsibilities are for the most part. That's not the case in college basketball or college football. Certainly for me, it is more player team building focused. So it is very similar to probably what a GM would be at the professional level. But there's no question about it that, certainly a lot, the everyday fan might not be exposed to truly, what it is that the role provides. But, at the end of the day, internally, whatever I'm here for, whatever I can do to help elevate the program, the team, the university, I'm certainly all in.
Matt, you must be doing something right because, like, I go through your resume. It's always, Matt Kama, the first guy we wanted to hire. Matt Kama, the first guy we wanted to hire. So that kind of speaks to your abilities and what you're doing, and the success of the team since you've been at St. John's the second time is again speaks to your abilities.
Yeah, no question about it, Jay. I mean, at the end of the day, I've been so blessed and fortunate to have a network of people that really trust me and respects me, that are incredible friends, and to me have helped shape my career. I mean, Fred Hoiberg being certainly one of them, dating back to when I spent 2 years in the NBA with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Certainly someone that I cherish our relationship and what he's done for me, and then the growth that he allowed me to have and our different stops along the way. And, for myself, I'm 40 years old. I turned 40 in February. It's crazy to say, but I mean, I've been in the business now 17 years. I started at such a young age, and to be able to have those experiences and shape me to where I'm at, you learn so much, you grow so much. The things that I did 3 years ago are different in what I would do today. And that's all a part of the growth and maturity in this business. And to be able to do it alongside someone like Rick Pitino and help play a small role in elevating his program is truly special.
Man, one tie-in with Mets St. John is my good buddy John Franco. I know he's done some uh, PSAs for Rick in the program, and I guess he knows sometime soon St. John's is going to give Johnny an honorary degree, which I know he's thrilled about. But what does it mean to have an alumni who is still relevant in the area be a vocal supporter of the program like Johnny is?
I mean, John he's phenomenal. As a huge Mets fan, to be able to have John's cell phone number and him text me after a big win is something that excites me maybe more than anything. He's an incredible ambassador to St. John's, clearly a great ambassador for the Mets organization, a great ambassador of what it means to work really hard and continue to put one foot in front of the other and let your work speak for itself. It's an honor to know him. Certainly to be able to be a part of having make sure that St. John's, John Franco is a relationship that's one that is strong, is awesome. Have him come to games is great. There's no celebrity that we can have that comes to any games that to me are bigger than John Franco.
I mean, how satisfied are you, Matt, when you go to the Garden and everything is sold out. Whereas a couple of years ago, St. John's 11, 12,000 was a big crowd. Now sellout crowd again to sell out a game in early November is crazy. Even the Michigan game, which I was at, I think was sold out too. It's going to make you proud to be a part of the growth of a program like that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, anytime that the national anthem starts at the Garden, it's hard not to get emotional when you look around and you played a small role in helping build it to the standpoint you have consistently 17, 18,000 in such a special venue like the Garden. So, yeah, Jay, it never ceases to give you goosebumps that when that national anthem's being sung at the Garden, that you just look around and you see red everywhere, and it's an incredibly special feeling.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. First of all, thank you for your time, and look forward to seeing you at the games and be back in the spring, which hopefully our Mets can take to the last step next week, and hopefully St. John's could, who knows, get a good, make the Final Four and see what happens. But it's an honor to be your friend, and as a former manager, I was a former manager at NYU. I appreciate your dedication to the job, and you got to be proud of what you do. And I was proud of what I did. It shows that basketball managers can succeed in this world, right, man?
Listen, basketball managers are the hardest working people in showbiz. So a lot of them translate into being very successful in their own right and own
I cut up a
space.
lot of arches, Matt.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I
No,
appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you soon, my friend.
absolutely. Let's go Mets.
Let's go, Johnnies.